Welcome to That's the Setup podcast, where anything and everything is discussed, setting the conversations for a real life situation with your hosts, the 5-time book author of The Setup and Soul You book collection, and 2019 featured Essence Fest author Sherika Duncan, Roland Mayhew, mastermind key brand strategist, and former pro athlete, music producer, and restaurateur Devenchie Battle. Now, let's grab your cup, notepad, and pen to record these gems and sit back and relax. We are continually dropping on TTS News. Follow us on YouTube, that's the Setup Podcast TV channel, Instagram at the Setup Podcast TV, and Facebook, Setup Podcast TV.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Just, staying sane in this time of the world.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Very good thing. Keep your sanity.
Mm-hmm.
So many things are popping off.
A lot of things.
Yeah. Was it last week when the what was it? The main gas line had cyber attack?
Yeah, the gas line was the Colonial Pipeline. We're talking about that attack, and then the Microsoft server exchange or Microsoft Exchange hack. Yeah, it was the server hack. So,
That was last week also?
No, it was about 2 weeks ago. But when you said hack, it just made me think about that. Maybe 4 weeks ago. But it was recent. Cause the reason why I know about it, I had to do something. I had to deal with it. Yeah.
Okay. Front line. Trying to protect our cyber platforms.
Yep.
We're secured. So these hackers are getting kind of sophisticated. Yep. It really affected my area, neck of the woods in Florida.
Yeah.
People got, they panicked, ran to the gas stations and depleted all the gas pumps. It was kind of crazy.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was just horrific. I saw people running out of gas, trying to get to the pump.
Yeah, I think I also heard a story where this person got this gas and they would put it in a plastic container, and I guess with it being hot, the containers caught on fire.
What?
I did hear some report like that.
Wow. It would not surprise me. I heard about, some fights, a couple of brawls trying to get to the pump, people physically fighting to get to the gas pump.
Yeah.
But people were blaming that on Russia for some reason.
Hey, Russia.
Yeah, they blamed it on Russia that the hack happened from Russia, so there were no coincidence. But I believe Biden mentioned that it was not Russia. He kind of cleared the air on that.
Sound like they trying to get blame something on something so they can start a war. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful when I say that.
But other than that, we're dealing with the Tesla crash.
Yeah.
There's been multiple crashes happening with the autopilot feature.
Now that's interesting because in this time, this day and age, with the technological advance, everything like that, everybody's trying to definitely go into that automation, artificial intelligence, which been going on since they showed Get Smart, that movie, and that sitcom that used to be on, and Inspector Gadget. That's what made me think about all this stuff.
Right, which leads to our discussion for this evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted us to take some time out to discuss how our world of technology is emerging right before our eyes, and how we definitely want to be abreast of what's happening versus at the tail, so we can prepare ourselves, based on these recent incidents of cyber attacks and of the Tesla car crashes. It's sort of like, how do we feel about all of this information? Does it make you nervous? The stock market is really being affected too, based on these occurrences.
Right. And then that's the other thing. It's like, so when you talk about the stock market and then you talk about the automation, it also made me think that it's a game that's being played. So if Tesla is like they trying to get into the self-driving cars and things of that nature, how much of this is dealing with playing the stock market game and say, okay, we're going to lower the stock and then we're going to rise it back up. We're going to say, okay, Tesla is this, they pass this. How much money is being made off it? That's always be my question.
Wow. Great point. Because you would think sometimes, we're not saying all the time, because accidents do happen, although
right.
Sometimes accidents are pre-planned.
Exactly.
And you can be on one end or the other, right? You can reap the benefits, or you can reap, the sadness from someone losing their life or getting hurt or endangered. But
right.
Someone is on the opposite end of that and getting benefits from it.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think we ever realize that. I don't think people really see that because they're so stuck on the bad side.
Right. And then sometimes people just don't want to believe it, even though it's right there in your face. You know what I'm saying?
So true.
It's like, how much I got to put in your face to make you believe it?
That's when you're called a conspiracy theorist.
Right. Yeah. Because automation, for people who don't know, automation been around.
Mm-hmm.
And they pretty much tell you what direction they're going in.
Mm-hmm.
With these movies. And that's why I say if you haven't noticed, a lot of these movies, they deal with the robots and the AI, artificial intelligence and stuff like that. Come on, man. They telling you in blind sight, as they say, in plain sight.
Yes, I do agree. It is on most of all these sci-fi movies, too. It's just, are you in tune to that? Or are you just being distracted by, the Real Housewives franchise or, the Love and Hip Hop franchise or, vice versa, reality shows?
Well, you just said it. That's the distraction. Let's get them put on this little drama right here. And then while they do that, we're going to throw this out here. We got self-automation cars. We got this, we got that. Man, that's futuristic stuff. The future is here, people. The future is here.
Yeah.
But with that crash, it raises a lot of concerns. But, and it's still going to be some people that are going to be like, yeah, I still want it. And then maybe they made that crash, maybe the car was malfunctioning. Who knows? Maybe somebody hacked into the system. Or maybe they said, well, we ain't ready for this right now, so let's not let people get too comfortable with this, and we'll bring it out when we're ready for it to come out.
Now,
because, go ahead.
Okay, now, before we dive into the crashes, let's give our friends some type of background in terms of, like, with me, I noticed I kind of, tuned in back in April when it was reported around April 18th, there were 2 people that were killed in a fiery Tesla crash with no one driving the vehicle. So that really sparked my interest, and I read the article, and it happened in Texas where 2 people died, and they weren't driving. No one was in the driver's seat. So, okay, they crashed into a tree, and it burst into flames. So the stock market, definitely plummeted for Tesla. it really dropped. The prices got, reduced. Now, recently you noticed another incident, correct?
Yeah, it was one in Fontana, California, Fontana, however you want to pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was one out in California. The dude, from what I was reading, was 34 years old, and he was part of a Tesla club, and he was doing a Facebook Live, and I think the car was going about 50 miles per hour, and he had a crash and died.
He died?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, another guy, another crash, another death.
Gee, and he was making a point that obviously he felt safe. He really,
right.
He felt like he could prove that it was actually doing his job, but I did not see that story yet. That's so sad. So he passed away?
Yeah, he did. I hate to say it sounds so blunt, but yeah, he did.
Dang. I wonder what Elon Musk is, how his response is. You know what? I did catch something back in April where it sort of sounded like he mentioned what is one bad, I'm sure he was remorseful, but people really didn't kind of see it bluntly. Like, he was really blunt with his statement, but he was just saying, what is one accident versus all the other million successful, test cases from his car, from his inventions. There's going to be some failures to his successes, but the successes outweigh the failure.
Right, and he definitely got a whole value because it's his company, and you got to keep those shareholders happy. So, he got to quote unquote do the what we call it when you politically correct. So he got to do that. But then again, too, I can see what he's saying. It's like, so we got so many of them out there. This is just maybe one or two, how many crashes they have, but still at the same time, people are having crashes, but they're able to drive their car. And unfortunately, sometimes when people crash driving their car, that's totally two different things. And when you say, hey, I'm finna totally trust this car to get me from point A to point B with me sitting in the passenger seat and the car is driving by itself. What if? And then the question is, what malfunction for the car to wreck? Like, did a camera go out? Did it? My question is, if it's driving by itself, then that means there's a program to make it automated like that. So what failed in the program? Because it's almost like, is it hooked up to a server, a main server, or is it all in that car? Is it a microchip in the car? So these are the questions that raises my interest into, like, what is causing the cars to crash.
Right. Because just like we know in tech world that it has to be updated. There has to be some patches pushed down to this software, because there is a software that has to, like, for instance, whatever happened in that car, I'm sure developers and all that ran scans to see what could have possibly failed in the code. And then they may have pushed another change or another little test case to, I guess, cover it. So they had to push down a patch. So how else would it must be cloud-based or something?
Yeah, but not what I would say to that is, okay, looking at some of the pictures, if some of those cars burn up completely. So it's like, so how can they even do a diagnostic on it if the car's burned? Did it burn the main CPU? Did it burn the chip board? What, like, how do they determine all that stuff? Is there a way they can, do like a DNA test on the car, I guess, to say, to figure out, like, what went wrong?
Okay. Well, I'm reading an article where Tesla CEO Elon Musk sent a tweet about the crash that happened in Texas back in April, which said, in part, the data logs so far show autopilot was not enabled, and this car did not purchase full service driving. So there's another feature, another layer of pricing. Moreover, the standard autopilot would require standard lane lines to turn on, which this street did not have. Whoa. So that right there is a lot of room for error.
Right.
So you're telling me the car is programmed to drive on certain streets. So that particular street did not have the standard lane lines, which some streets don't have. I mean, based on where you go. So how can you? And also, number two, it did not purchase the full service driving feature.
Wow. So that means to tell me, in order for you to get the full feature, it's an added-on feature. So why not just get it when somebody say, "Hey, I want autopilot on this." So it should come completely with the full feature, you would think, so you can avoid these kind of mishaps, right?
I agree. That's the assumption being made based on what. So there's levels to the autopilot features. This one did not have a full service, the one that happened back in April with the two people that crashed into a tree and burned. That's sad. It's sad, but that was his response, and to the tune of the standard autopilot would require standard lane lines to turn on, which this street did not have. So, with all of this being said, if those people, rest their soul, were alive today to attest for that, would they be able to say that they 100% was aware of that disclaimer?
Well, that's key too. So I guess that's why he came out and said what he said, because it's a disclaimer there. And I know, not trying to be funny enough, but I know that I had a test. I know I won't have it on no autopilot in no state of Georgia, especially with a lot of those roads not developed.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Texas got some parts where, it's still it's just wide open, So,
Yeah. One of these things where we just got to be realistic with our risk taking, right?
Right.
For whatever reason, we must understand, family, with this technology, it is not a mind of its own. It is programmed that way. A human being programs it to behave and act the way and respond the way it does to certain conditions.
Mm-hmm.
We must understand that we have to be accountable for our own lives and how much risk we're willing to take. And with this particular incident, it sounds as if there were some loopholes.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
And then you got to think about the CEO for Tesla. Elon Musk. He's been a very controversial figure. So, I'm pretty sure he got to make sure he say, quote unquote, the right things, or maybe he's just saying, well, look, man, it's up to the consumer to understand the disclaimer that is on these cars when you get that feature, I mean, this dude right now is definitely catching a lot of heat because of the Saturday Night Live performance he had.
What happened?
I haven't seen the performance, but it was a lot of news. It was very controversial.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying he was like one of the worst hosts ever, and then also with all that, because he's part of that Doggy-Coin, or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
That jump dropped. So man, it's a lot going on with Mr. Musk right now.
Okay, let me see what in the world happened with that one. Okay, Dogecoin price plummets as Elon Musk hosts. He hosted Saturday Night Live 8 days ago, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about it. So that's why I said, with the crash, and then knowing that he is the CEO. I mean, and then with this, now I read an article where they're talking about he's $20 billion broke. But, hey, man, there's a lot going on with Tesla.
Yeah, and speaking of this Dogecoin, right, because that was a wave. That really was a trend. Everybody who knew about investing in cryptocurrency and vice versa, who also to the ones who don't have any knowledge at all about Dogecoin and cryptocurrency, everybody was jumping that wave and trying to see how could they buy and invest in it. And I read somewhere where it was really meant to be a joke. Dogecoin was really meant to be a joke. It wasn't meant to catch a wave like that.
Mhm. Yeah, man. So, Mr. Musk, you got a lot going on.
Wow. Especially with the SpaceX project. I mean, I'm fascinated by everything that, he pretty much has going on technology-wise because, it's innovative. It takes a lot of courage and to be around some very intelligent people, maybe some Silicon Valley people, right?
Yeah, because, he was out there, but he moved the company to Texas. And part of that move was dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, from what I heard, because, California was, like, locking down a lot of companies. So he was just like, he should be able to, it's his company, he should be able to do what he wants. But, the government was like, nah, y'all got to lock down. So he ended up moving the company out to Texas. I don't know what part.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably say Austin, because there's a lot going on in Austin, Texas, but maybe right outside it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so.
Wow.
Now, speaking of, not to jump around, but let me bring it back to the self-driving cars. Because out here in Arizona,
they
have a company called Waymo, spelled WAYMO.
Mm-hmm.
And Waymo was formerly the Google self-driving car project. So this self-driving car technology automation, they are definitely really pushing it. And I say that because I've witnessed it with my own eyes. I was out here driving on one of the highways and I pulled up at the stoplight and I looked over at the Waymo car and I was just like, ain't nobody in the car. Because it's funny when you actually see it. And I had a cousin with me in my car and I said, hey man, you want to see something freaky? Look over there. And he looked. He said, well, God damn. He said, ain't nobody driving that car. I said, ain't nobody driving that car.
Wait, was it on the same street as you?
Yes. When I pulled up, I was by a light, and it was in the turning lane. And when I looked, it turned. And when the light turned green, it turned. And I was just like, okay, ain't nobody over there. I even looked, trying to look and see if somebody like laying down in the seat. There was nobody in the car. So I said, well, they are definitely pushing it. And then another time I seen it, I was outside riding my bicycle, working out and everything, and I had just stopped, take a drink of water. I seen the Waymo car pull up. I seen the lady get out like an Uber. Lady got out, walked to her apartment, the car door closed, and it drove off. I said, man, it's freaky.
Okay.
Yeah, it's freaky.
So it was like a normal-sized car.
like a van. They got
Oh,
like a van, and then they got like I seen one prototype that's like a Lexus or Infinity, one of them.
oh,
Yeah, so they're pushing this initiative for real.
okay. I mean, I've been seeing the commercials from Domino's launching a pizza delivery robot car, but that car is like, it seems like a mini car that rides sort of like on the side of the street. It doesn't really drive in the main lane, and it rides like the curbside.
Mhm. Nah, he cars in the main lane. So I mean, it's then when you hear about these crashes, it's like, okay, what if the car has a DUI? What do you do? When they listening. So I'm gonna be careful with that one. I'm gonna definitely be careful with that one because
We need regulations, is all I'm saying. We would love to see the regulations on the driverless vehicle, practices. Like we just mentioned a scenario of a human driver having a accident with a driverless vehicle.
right.
Who is at fault? And what insurance company is liable, right? So
Exactly.
what type of coverage is needed for a driverless vehicle? I mean, some type of regulations per state, federally, county, just needs to be outlined, and we should have already known about it now. So I think that it's still in the works for it not to be known in the newspaper. I hadn't seen it on my side in Florida.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they got something out here, but I would have to dig more into it because like this was just brought to my attention.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I like to say for the listeners, if you don't believe that the 21st century is moving without you, you better wake up.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
moving without you if you're not paying attention. And they got people out there every day that get, just like you have gamers, you got people out there that enjoy doing this stuff, dealing with automation and things of that nature.
Speaking of that, I was watching a movie of about robots fighting, like with boxing. They have robots boxing.
Yeah. Pretty much what you see on TV, they probably already got it.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So I'm anxious to see where it goes. Maybe, we are really embracing technology to the point where, you never know if there are humanoids. I've heard of, human/robotic type entities also, and, with the way of the land of cloning and all that stuff, you just never know who your neighbors are. I'm just saying, the future is, upon us. We definitely should not be shocked. We just need to be prepared of the possibilities.
Right.
Right? And so we're very intelligent beings to where we can do anything when we put our mind to it. So that in itself is exciting.
Yes, it is.
Yes. This has been a great talk. So in terms of, you said your take on the technology position, we just need to be aware and knowledgeable and, try not to be fearful. I know it's going to happen regardless, just because of anxiety. Although we're just going to have to manage that anxiety now because everything is virtually. So sort of like we got a taste of that these past 2 years of how we're able to adapt from a virtual standpoint, right?
Right. I mean, if you're not ready to adapt, you're not ready for change, then, it's happening regardless, whether you're ready or not. And, being in the IT industry and stuff like that, stuff constantly getting changed, constantly updates, as you can see with the phones. If you got a phone, they bringing out a new one almost every August, or they working on different prototypes. So that's the good thing about technology. It's constantly evolving, but oh man, there's so many other things when it comes to privacy and then when you like what we talked about with these crashes, you know. But you gotta be on your A game in order to understand it all.
Right. So be mindful of your digital footprint, right?
Exactly.
Be mindful of how easy and I should say how everything seems so easily accessible when they ask you to save your password so that you don't have to do it the next time around. You know, just think twice about saving your banking credentials versus, you know, just taking time out to type in your username and password each time, right? Certain things just allow us to be exposed when it doesn't really have to be.
Right.
Just for that extra layer of security, right? You know, so just be mindful of those types of biometric features because, you know, it's coming. We know it's coming and we must embrace it. You know, people in Africa, they don't even need to use anything physical to pay in a store. Sort of like there's a scanning biometric footprint on their debit card information embedded in their DNA fingerprint.
Yeah, it don't take much once you do the programming.
And, you know, it's easy, right? From a technical standpoint, like Devenchie just mentioned, it doesn't take much, but from a mind perspective, it's like, say what?
Yeah.
But it's out there and it's exciting, but we just got to make sure we're ahead of that information and embracing it. And if not embracing, just making ourselves aware. Because I know there's some people who are being mentally depressed about this technical world.
Right.
Because they don't want to adapt. And that's not a good way of living.
Yeah. Life always brings about constant changes.
Yes. So let's be a part of this change, guys. And if anything that we mentioned tonight helped in any way, please let us know. Let us know what you think. Do you think that the cryptocurrency world and the Dogecoin is going to go up? Or do you think that this Tesla stock is going to hold steady? Or we need to just we need to have a session on stock investment, Devenchie. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get us a good person because I do stock, but I'm not a broker or an expert. So, yeah.
Get us an expert matter on here so we can learn what's going on in that world, right? Let's help us win together. Yes, we'll work on that, guys. Well, if that isn't, do you have anything else you want to tell our people?
Stay alert, and y'all be safe out there.
Hey, as always, thank you for listening to That's the Setup podcast. Listen, let us know what you're thinking. Give us your feedback or questions. What would you like for us to talk about next? Send it to ttsnews@sherikaduncan.com. Until then, signing off.